Okay, so here's how it started.
Okay.
I get to work, and about 7:55 in the morning, I get a text message, and it's got me on the text message, and it's a whole new group that's been created, and it's like 6 names and some phone numbers I don't recognize, and it says, "Gentlemen, I just signed us all up for the 24 hours in the Old Pueblo. It's in February." I get this text message in like October. So I'm like 4 months from now. I'm like, what is this race in Arizona? I never even heard of this. And I like call him. I'm like, what are we doing? And he explains it to me. And then I come home that night and I tell my wife, well, my buddy Jeremy signed me up for a race in Arizona in 4 months in February. And my wife goes, it's a good thing you have friends like him.
From KOM Cycling and Michigan Midpack Media, welcome to the Dirty Chain Podcast, the podcast that covers the cycling scene from the viewpoint of the Michigan Midpack. I am your host, Trevor, and on this episode, we move away from the cold winter of Michigan and turn our focus to the warm Sonoran Desert. Every year in February, I hear the stories, I see the pictures of the Epic Rides event, 24 hours in the Old Pueblo, and every single year I am struck with extreme FOMO. So when I had the opportunity to hear about this year's event from a couple first-timers, I jumped at the chance. Jeremy Frew and Jim Owens joined me at the KOM Cycling Warehouse to share their whole journey, from logistics, race details. Being a race I will certainly do in the future, I thought it was super helpful and interesting conversation. But as most of these conversations go, it was more than just a rehash of how the ride went, but rather a great story about a few friends seeking out adventures to tackle together. So get ready to get inspired to book your next cycling trip. 24 hours in the Old Pueblo with Jeremy Frew and Jim Owens.
Okay. We're live.
We are live. So this is super cool because we're going to talk about a race that I have always, it's on my bucket list for sure.
Okay, good. Good.
And so that's one of the reasons why I was excited to sit down with the both of you. 24 hour of Old Pueblo. A party in the desert is how they
Yeah.
Jim and I were talking. It's the Iceman in the desert.
Okay.
And I could say that because I know who I'm talking to and the people listening. And I don't know, Jim, you could say, but really when I thought about it, I mean, it's different because you're in the desert, but the vibe, the connection, the mutual understanding, the respect, the ride is very important, don't get me wrong, but it's everybody around it that I thought made it.
Yeah.
So this is great. This is a great way to intro it.
Yeah.
Before we get too far,
Yeah.
before I ask you about all the details of your experience and the details of the race, these are two people here that I haven't had on the podcast before.
Yeah.
And I think that if you could both introduce yourself and give us like a quick, just in terms of like your cycling life.
Sure.
So Jim, why don't you start?
Well, it's funny, like I got into cycling because of this guy over here. He had an old Specialized collecting dust in his garage, and I was like, I think I want to get into mountain biking. So he lent me that bike, and then I got a mountain bike, and then I got into cycling pretty seriously, and I've done, raced my fat bike all over mid-Michigan and Wisconsin, and taken my bike. Every time I travel, and now I take my bike, a bike, full suspension or hardtail, or my fat bike, or now I'm into gravel bike.
Yeah.
So I ride all over the place, but I do gravel races, mountain bike races primarily. I like long distance mountain biking races, not super long, like 100 milers, but
Yeah.
I like, Iceman, Ore to Shore. We've done the Czech 40 a few times.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, love that race. We're doing that again this year.
Oh, nice. Man, we should talk about that.
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
That's special.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I basically traded in my running shoes for cycling at about age 30, and I was like, this I can do for the rest of my life.
That, yeah, that's me actually.
Is that what you did? Yeah.
Yeah, I ran too much and it was stupid. Running's dumb.
Yeah.
But Jim Owens.
Yes, Jim Owens.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm Jeremy Frew, and for me, it really started. I'm born and raised in Las Vegas. I've been in Michigan, though, for 30 years. But growing up as a kid, we would ride BMXs in the desert. And that feeling of going on the whoop-de-doos up and down was some of the greatest things ever. In my junior year in college, I'm a sophomore year in college in Adrian, Michigan. I walked into a bike store, and they had a stump jumper sitting there. And I didn't understand anything about mountain biking, but I loved biking as a kid so much. I had a Discovery card with no money, and I maxed it out and bought a stump jumper for $1,000, which at the time was everything. The truth is, I bought a rock hopper. I took it to the Pado the first time. I came back, and Jerry Smith was the owner of the bike shop in Adrian, Michigan, said, "You need a higher end. I'll give you a full refund. Move up to the stump jumper." And that's what I did. And I did it. I was playing soccer in college, and it was the best way to stay fit. And it was like being a kid again on those hills. And the first really trail I ever rode was the Pado, and I think it was in '92. We wouldn't wear helmets, which is crazy and ridiculous.
Insanity.
Yeah, and I fell in love, and then I had kids. Life happened, and then Jim and I were friends, and I busted a bike out, an old stump jumper I had, and off and running. And now, like Jim said, there's Icemans, Czechs, and Bay Arrow Bays, and of course 24 Hours in Pueblo. We both have a close friend who lives in Eagleville. We go out every year and ride in Colorado. So I just fell in love. I traded for soccer. I went into biking for the same reason you guys gave up running. But it was the love and the feel of on that bike going up and down. Like you go to DTE, you get that feeling. And that's why I got into it.
Oh, man. Yeah, there's definitely a connection of you feel like a kid when you're on a bike. And there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And, man, I like the Old Pueblo. It's like that must have really made you feel like a kid because you're riding in the desert. I mean,
yeah, Jim and I were talking. I'm born and raised in Las Vegas. I've been out there. Never really fell in love with some trails, but I did this year. Went to Vegas and we went to Old Pueblo, and it was like being a kid again in the desert. And it's so beautiful. I love Michigan. I will tell everybody I think it's the best riding in the country. But the desert is special, and you got to get out there and experience it.
I don't mean to derail us already, but my brother lived in Vegas for quite a few years, so I've ridden a little bit of that area.
Yeah.
No mountain biking, unfortunately, but just what's the park that's like north?
Well, there's
west.
There's Red Rock Canyon,
yeah,
Cowboy Trails. I actually rode this last time, which is the first time I've ever really mountain biked there, believe it or not, and I found some amazing trails. It's a pretty. I can't wait to get back out there, and when you can ride in February in the 40s, in 50-degree weather, it's special.
I think it's how easy it is to get to Vegas.
Yeah.
And you really don't think of Vegas as an outdoorsy spot, but it really is.
There's pro climbers who live there.
Yeah.
There's mountain bikers who live there and train there, and in Tucson, which is where we were at in Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of cycling and outdoor stuff going on, I think, in the desert Southwest.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk to me. Thank you. Those were great introductions. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Talk to me about how this all started.
Okay, so here's how it started.
Okay.
I get to work, and about 7:55 in the morning, I get a text message, and it's got me on the text message, and it's a whole new group that's been created, and it's like 6 names and some phone numbers I don't recognize, and it says, "Gentlemen, I just signed us all up for the 24 hours in the Old Pueblo. It's in February." I get this text message in like October. So I'm like 4 months from now. I'm like, what is this race in Arizona? I've never even heard of this. And I like call him. I'm like, what are we doing? And he explains it to me. And then I come home that night and I tell my wife, well, my buddy Jeremy signed me up for a race in Arizona in 4 months in February. And my wife goes, it's a good thing you have friends like him.
Wait, So there was no like clearing with the wives beforehand? Oh man, that's a dangerous move.
Well, I mean, and I'll share with you. At the job I work, I have a board, and the board president's a big gravel biker. And like a few weeks before, he said, "You ever hear about those 24 hours in Pueblo?" I'm talking, yeah. But I just dumped it out of my brain. I mean, there's too much going on. And I listened to the Adventure Stash, his podcast, and he had mentioned it. And then that next Monday, I'm listening to it, and it came up again. I'm like, let me go see. That was the day of the registration. I just knew I chose my daughter, a bunch of good friends, and I just put everybody's name in. And it filled up within 58 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, oh, boy, what did I do? I had not talked to anybody, my own wife. I hadn't talked to any of them, my daughter. But listen, we were talking about it. You know, that's what we do. We do these things. Yeah. Look, we all want to be fit. We all want to be fast. Please, I get it. But we do it because we like to be just do crazy stuff. And, you know, and it worked. Everybody showed. No one bailed, which I was counting on 1 or 2 people bailing.
So how big was the crew? Like,
so we did a corporate team 6.
Okay.
You can race individual, pair.
Yeah.
You can do 4, and we did a corporate team, which is 6.
Okay.
And I did 6 really knowing that I'm thinking we're going to lose people.
Sure. Yeah.
We didn't lose anybody.
That's amazing.
It was ridiculous.
It's grown. It turned into an entire season where we've now made T-shirts, like rock concert T-shirts, of all the races we're doing.
Oh, cool.
All throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just was the tip of the iceberg.
So who was the crew then? The 2 of you?
Yep. Our buddy Steve Trozen, who's on the board where Jeremy works at the museum in Jackson.
Coast to coast. He's a big rider.
Yeah, he's a huge long distance gravel racer. Jeremy's daughter, and then a good friend of ours in Eagle, Troy. He lives in Eagle, Colorado.
My daughter's.
Oh, and your daughter's boyfriend, which we have some stories to tell. So yeah, I forgot him because Liam. Sorry, Liam. He's not a mountain biker, but he is now. He's becoming one.
Oh,
he was a runner.
Okay.
He's a runner. We have a story to tell about that
We'll
because there's a Le Mans start to the 24 hours.
Oh yeah.
So that was it. Yeah.
So I mean, we're kind of talking. I'll intro. In the intro, maybe I'll talk more about what 24-hour is, but it's a. I mean, one of you could probably do better than I can right now. But if you want, Jim.
So 24 hours in the Old Pueblo. It's in the Sonoran Desert, which is halfway between Phoenix and Tucson. Tucson is about an hour north of the border, Mexican border. So you go to Tucson, you go about an hour north of that. You're in the middle of the desert. In fact, the place where this takes place is right near Biosphere 2, which is run by the University of Arizona, which is where they kind of life would be like on another planet or something. So you're out there in the middle of the Sonoran Desert. You're up at 4,000 feet of elevation. It's kind of like what you might consider in Michigan like a campground where you can park RVs, but there's no hookups, no parking pads. It's just you take a 2-track into the desert off the main highway for a few miles, and you're slowly gaining elevation. You're at a kind of the base of a small 1,000-foot mountain or whatever sitting there, and everybody's just parking everywhere they can on the side of wherever they can in the desert.
Yeah.
And there's 3,000 racers and probably 4,000 or 5,000 people there.
That's amazing. What I've heard is it's like the Burning Man of bike racing or something, of mountain biking.
That's a good description.
They call it a 24-hour town. There's generators. There's no power. It's chaotic. I mean, at first, and it took us a while to relax because, I mean, you literally are parking on cactus. Yeah. You're parking wherever you can, and there's food trucks. There's a bar.
There's vendors. There's a bunch of cycling vendors there. Yeah.
Mechanics there 24 hours that will help you.
So this is why I wanted to ask about it, because the first thing that I think about is when you're doing a race cross country is logistics. Yeah. Like, do we drive out there? Do we fly our stuff out there?
Yes.
But then when you are, because you need a place to stay, so you need like a trailer, and and then you also need to get all your bikes, and then you have a crew of 6. Like, what?
Okay.
What? Talk to me about the logistics of just getting out there, because I feel like that's one of the biggest barriers.
We spent
of
a lot
doing
of time
something
working
like
on
this.
that.
Yeah, and we were fortunate. A good friend of ours who lives in Colorado, his daughter goes to Arizona, the college, right in Tucson. They actually keep their motorhome there. Blessing. Can't do it without a motorhome.
Yeah.
And we did a VRBO on the front end and the back end, and it was only 45 minutes from where the site was.
Okay.
So we got up early, parked the motorhome in this, I'm talking chaos, insaneness. and we had the motorhome, and the riders stayed. We slept in the motorhome, slept in the truck we had. All of our partners went back to the VRBO during the night. But it is a logistic, stressful nightmare.
So we talked about what are we going to do with bikes? Are we going to fly bikes out there?
Yes.
Are we going to rent bikes? Is one of us going to drive bikes? What are we going to do? Are we going to ship them to our buddy and have him drive them because he's coming from Eagle and he'll drive there? But we ultimately decided on putting our bikes in cases, in flight boxes, flying them out with us as luggage, and just like riding our own bikes in the desert sounded really fun.
Yeah.
Because we've been out west and rented bikes before, which is really fun.
Sure.
A bit more suspension than what we'd have here and bigger tires and stuff. But we just wanted to have that experience. You know how your bike, you have a relationship with your bike.
Definitely.
And I just wanted to have this experience where, we all rode our own bikes.
So, but was it only 3 of you that had to fly out, or?
It was.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
No.
it was 5 of us who flew
5.
out.
Okay.
And one guy, 2 of our teammates shared a bike.
Oh, that makes
So,
sense. Yeah.
Yep, that's what we did. So we had 4 bikes and 6 people.
Okay.
And that worked out perfectly the way we
Actually,
staggered the laps.
2 of the 4 people share a bike, 2 and 2.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Abigail and Liam and Steve and Troy.
Yeah.
Jim and I were going to share, but he convinced me we got actually travel bags because we have another race, 18 Hours in Fruta, coming up in May, and we were just like, let's buy it. Let's buy the bag. And it was the best. It was a great
Yeah.
investment. I was against it, but it is logistical, it's tricky. And we already do, we've talked about, there's some things we'd majorly do different. Like we should have had a tent set up next to the motorhome for all of our gear. Our gear was everywhere.
Inside that RV, it was a mess.
I mean, we're talking 6 riders.
You're doing it at 2 a.m. You're getting ready for your lap, and it's now 40 degrees instead of 70.
Yeah. Oh man.
And lights. You got to have
you're
really
looking
good
for
lights.
gear. You're looking for mittens. You're looking for. Yeah.
It was
food.
chaotic.
You're looking for food at 2 a.m.
Yeah, there's some things we do different. That would be one of them for sure.
Wow. So, boy.
And we're organized people. Like we met you here early. We actually are way think ahead and plan ahead type of people.
Yeah.
And we did plan for a lot of the logistics. But once you get there, you realize like some people go up and park their motorhome a week before the race starts, and they just leave it parked there.
Wow.
So that you have a good spot because they're sprawled out all over the desert.
So how early then did you get to or go up to the
day
to the
before.
race site? Okay.
And we luckily squeezed in. Somebody let us squeeze in because our buddy Troy has a 25-footer, which was small. It had 3 places to sleep inside that, but we could squeeze it in between a couple of other RVs.
Yeah, if we did it again, we'd go 2 or 3 days ahead.
Yeah.
Park. But the VRBO was great because Tucson's great, and we did multiple rides besides there. We did other rides.
Yeah.
There's so many great rides. So that was a really key, but we would have parked the motorhome 2 or 3 days ahead because Jim's right. We got lucky. Someone let us park right on top of him.
Yeah.
So let's talk more about the race.
Yeah.
It's a loop
It is.
that you just loop and loop and loop for 24 hours. Do I have that basically
right.
correct?
Yeah, but it's 16 miles though, so
It's almost 17.
It's almost
16 and
17.
3/4.
So you get a good ride out there, and
for
it
sure.
was a blast.
Yes.
So, I mean, there are, like you said, people do it all sorts of different ways. They go solo,
Yeah.
pairs.
Yes.
And you had 6 people to the team.
Yes.
So how did you organize that? Did it change? Did you have
Yes.
plans? Like what? Yeah. How did that all?
Well, we kept it did change. Everything changed along the way. But we basically knew the most stressful lap was going to be the first lap because that's just chaos. And it starts with a half-a-mile run down the gravel 2-track road, and everybody's bikes are just piled up. And we knew Liam was our ringer for running.
I've seen videos of this.
You have,
It's pretty chaotic.
It's wild. And so people are lined up and they're running through the line,
Yeah.
So Liam was a runner a cross-country runner in college, and he took his team to nationals, and he
legit
does like
runner.
a 5K in 15 minutes. He's very fast.
All right.
So we're like, Liam, because this is at the point where we were like being competitive, right? Because we didn't realize really we were putting together a competitive plan. We're mid-pack racers. Honestly, we belong in this podcast, but we were like, we got to have him first because he'll get on the bike, he'll head out. And the first lap's a little bit shorter, and he's a little bit least experienced of the riders. So he goes out, does the first lap, and then we figured, well, he can't go. The person has to use his bike next can't go. So then Jeremy went second, so his daughter could get ready to reuse that bike that had been used on the first lap. So we had to stagger people because people shared bikes.
Yeah.
But after everyone's second lap, half the team has dropped off at this point. including this guy. But what I'd say we learned from it, I think this is really important. We all agreed we would never go with that many people, and we would go smaller team and less, because waiting 7 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours to do a lap.
Yeah.
Like their first lap, Jim and our friend Troy, they were riding in their dark. I'm starting at 1:30 or 2.
Yeah.
They didn't get to go till night, so that's a long time to sit around.
Yeah.
That was tough. But by our third lap, we had...
Each of us were doing like our 30-minute laps.
Okay.
And, I mean, the pros are doing in an hour or under.
Yeah.
But my first lap was as the sun was setting, had my sunglasses on, just to keep that sun out of my eyes as I'm starting. And about 3 miles into that 17-mile, I was in the dark. And then my second lap was at like 5:30 in the morning. And then the sun was coming up in the last 3 miles. So I had to actually ride my first lap totally blind in the dark, never pre-rode the course, never really ridden in the desert before.
Yeah.
It was wild. And it was still a hot lap. Everybody was still doing hot laps when I went out at sunset.
That's
crazy. People were ripping it.
Yeah, the individuals, they end up doing 18 laps and stuff. It's crazy. I mean, you see everything.
Yeah.
For example, the guy who let us park next to him, and I love it, he comes every year with his family. He's from Tucson, does it alone. But he does 4 laps. Like, he just takes his time.
Oh, wow.
He does a lap.
Yep.
He comes, enjoys his family. They
Plays
have
with his
pizza.
kids.
Then he goes back out.
Yep.
And there was a lot of people who were doing that. There was a guy I ran next to who was playing music and dancing the whole time. His name was Jesus, because I was in the tent when he came through. He was an individual rider. I think he did 12 laps. But it's just, and something that's super intense. I had never dealt with it. I mean, stressful is you're waiting in a tent to switch off partners. You're in a tent with all of the people, and it's like the Hunger Games or something, because
So it's a big tent where all the participants are in
Everyone.
there? Okay.
Well, the ones who are queuing up to go on the next
Queuing
lap.
up.
Sure.
And you don't know where your teammate is out on the course. There's no way to track out there on the course.
So are you just guessing?
You're
You're hoping
guessing
you're there like
sometimes.
super early?
Yes.
Yes.
And then you're sitting in there with everyone, and no one's talking. Everyone is...
So is the rider that is out on course, do they ride into
They
the
ride
tent?
into the tent.
And then like what, high five you in?
No,
and then-
Basically.
you meet at a
Basically.
table, and they write it down, and they hand it to baton.
Okay,
it's
so-
very formal.
So
It's
okay, so
very
they're like each switch is really like
formal.
It's
Yeah,
very
like-
organized.
Yep.
It's
Okay.
very like they keep detailed notes when you switch in there. And there is a little baton you have to hand off to somebody. And you have a race plate that has a tracker on it as well. So they kind of double track
that
it.
that goes with
Yes.
whoever's out there. That
Yeah.
moves between
Yep.
Correct.
It moves between each rider.
yeah, okay.
But sitting there waiting,
That's
you
wild.
just don't know, and you're just it's really interesting.
And you're trying to be down there too sometimes to help support your teammates get off. Like somebody's coming in at 3 a.m, they're going to be hungry, so you're trying to have a pizza ready for them and try to get them a few hours sleep before they have to go out and get ready to do another lap. And yet you're trying to get some sleep yourself.
They had a pizza truck literally at where you you get done. I literally I don't know, was it 1:45? I don't remember. 2 a.m. I got done with my ride. I walked my bike, got to the pizza truck, got a pizza, and I'm sitting there with all these people who are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It like in the middle of the
It
night.
never slows down.
Is that I bet that pizza truck sold so
Oh, they
many
made a
pizza.
fortune.
And it was good, like the handmade right in front of you.
Yeah, they were hand tossing the crust. It was super good.
So then how many laps did your team do
We
total?
did 12.
Okay.
And you have to finish, so you have to be on the course at the start, and you have to have someone on the course 24 hours later. You can't stop early or you're DNF'd.
Okay.
So you have to have somebody on there
Yeah,
after
you
you have
typically
to finish
finish
afternoon
afternoon.
the next day.
Yeah.
So you start noon on Saturday, and nobody can cross the finish line until afternoon on Sunday.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So you all got 2 laps in.
Most of us
basically.
got 2 laps. A few of us had to do 3. 2 of us had to do 3.
Yeah, myself
Right.
and my friend Troy.
Yep.
We had to do 3.
And we were debating who's going to do the 3. It was crazy that Troy stepped up and did the 3rd lap because he just done it ahead, like he just had a rest lap, and he and I had both done our 2 laps complete darkness, which was pretty rough.
Wow.
Because you can't, even with headlights, the desert is dark. There's no light pollution out there. And when you're out there, it is an 18-mile loop in the desert, and you can kind of sometimes see headlights out there in front of you, and you're just like, how am I ever going to get over there? It's really
dark.
surreal, but it's dark. You can't see to the left and right of you. Like kind of like even in Michigan when we ride outdoors here in the winter, and your light is reflecting off of snow and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there, your light just gets sucked away into the blackness of the desert. which is kind of cool, but you cannot see cactuses and trees coming at you.
And there's cacti as big as you.
Yeah, they're 6 foot tall cacti.
yeah.
Everywhere.
What kind of like lighting setup did you use then?
We basically, all of us, I think, had bar lights and helmet lights.
Yeah.
It was
And
plenty.
it was
but
good.
Everyone, they tell you bring extra lights.
Yeah. You have
Every
to have an
other
extra
person in
light.
our group had a light go out.
Yep.
Break. Like, it's all over. And the train is just, it was amazing. It was a great riding.
Yeah.
I would assume that the bicycle traffic would get pretty gnarly after so many hours, so many laps. Now you have people just spread all over
Oh, yeah.
the course. Like,
Yeah.
were you able to actually get a good flow as you're riding, or were you constantly running into? I mean, if someone's doing 4 laps and then the pros are just like hauling ass the
They're
whole
hauling,
time,
yeah.
like how easy was it to get around people? Would you, or
It was the most polite. You tell.
I will tell
it
you,
was
there's
good.
never been a politer race than I've ever been. I always thought Iceman, where everyone gives you your stuff, or all these rides where no one, they say over and over, be nice, be nice. Everyone was like that. I thought as the day went on, traffic got way lighter. My first lap, there was a ton, and then I sometimes wouldn't see people for 20, 30 minutes. Or I'd get behind someone, we get in a rhythm. You know how it is. You find someone who's your speed, and you'd get in that. But people passing were cool. They would just say, whenever you're ready. But the tricky part is there's cacti, so even when you're letting people pass, you're they're right on the thing. But it was I never felt stressed about having people behind me.
Nobody
And
ever pressured me to get over. They just said whenever you're ready. Because it is like if you roll over to the side a little bit, you're either going to get poked or you're going to poke your tires.
yeah.
And you got poked once while we were out there, and it left a silver dollar sized bruise on your arm. I mean, the cactuses are rough.
Yeah.
So everybody was cool though.
Good.
Yeah, but there was some great, it's like any race. There's great riders, and yeah.
We were definitely grabbing the brakes at night though. It was stuff would come up on you.
Yeah.
You just could not see
Yeah,
what
there's
was
some
coming.
weird like mice that would be jumping.
Oh yeah, what do they call them?
Kangaroo
Desert
mouse.
kangaroo mice.
Oh, yeah.
and
They were dead all over the trail the next day. I saw a ton in the daytime.
just
not
like
at night.
chipmunks here on
But
Fourth
they're
sure,
everywhere.
for sure,
But you're
yep.
like, what happened?
Yeah.
There was like at the halfway point, they have a whiskey tree where there's like about 30 or 50 people trying to feed you whiskey.
Yeah,
and,
of course.
just typical mountain bike stuff.
Yep. So then you said you're pretty organized guys.
Yeah.
With the going into it, like you had a schedule of who's riding when,
Yeah.
like who's riding what in terms of bikes, but what other details did you have to iron out? Because this seems like a highly detailed operation.
There's a mandatory meeting when you first get there for all the captains and co-captains, and they explain to you like the logistics of how the whole race is going to unfold, and that really helped. That's where they kept saying the motto, be nice. But in terms of like our logistics, frankly, we were still working some of those out throughout the course of the race because we didn't really. Your original plan was, Jeremy, you thought we just weren't going to sleep at all. You're like, we're all going to be so excited. We're going to be helping each other out. We're all going to be up all night. And we all just kind of believed that was the case. But we'd already been there a few days riding and hanging out. So
Yeah.
by the time we got to the race, some of us were getting a little tired. We were just like, I'll get a few hours sleep. And that's where things started getting a little. We didn't organize and plan well enough. Like
I think coming from
for
Michigan
food. Yeah.
is what you're going to stay in and what you're going to carry your bikes in. That became a problem.
Yeah.
We had so many bikes, but we didn't have enough. I had rented the biggest truck as I could, and I couldn't fit all the bikes in. So we were constantly
Yeah.
that was a tricky thing
Yeah.
logistically. Race day, I don't think that was that hard, except the sleeping. And I think the part that caught us off guard, and I told you this, was having 6 or 7 hours in between a ride.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever really digested that.
Yeah.
I mean, I could totally see. I mean, I've done a lot of like really long rides,
Yeah.
and stopping is important. But if I stop for 2 hours,
Oh, yeah.
then I'd be like, I'm not getting back on the bike ever
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
You know, so it's like
That
you
was
need to keep that momentum. And I mean, that's kind of one of the first things I thought of is if you had all this. I mean, I'm sure there's teams of 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever that guys go out and rip 2 laps right away,
Sure,
like
sure.
back-to-back laps,
Yep,
and then
yep.
the other one does
Yep.
back-to-back laps. So I'm sure there's just a lot of different ways to.
Well, and during the course of the race, there was like one guy hurt his ribs, so we weren't sure he was going to be able to do a second lap. So now we're trying to reorganize.
One of your guys.
Yeah, one of our guys got hurt. And then it was like other people were exhausted. Like, can you go out and do a second lap? Like,
but I think it's your point. Sitting around that long,
yeah,
and it's boring. I mean, I think you got it right. I know that I heard some teams of 2, 3, and 4 doing what you said. They'd bust out 2 laps and take a break, then bust 2. That's what I mean. Ideally, we all talked. We were
actually talking about doing like, should I just do my next 2 laps back to back? It'd be easier just to do 2 back to back, and that's probably. I don't know if we do it that way again. If we did, I think if we did it again, we'd go out with smaller team. I'd do a team of 2.
Yeah,
that'd be the most fun way to do it. I think
individual would be fun too because you can do your own thing then.
For sure. Yeah. Food wise, like what? I mean, for 6 people, there's got to be.
We have VRBO.
Like I'm sure, like some people want stuff in their bottles. Some people want to take like gels, and then you just have like the food that you guys are going to eat at the campsite. Like that's.
It was a complete mess. It was like a complete mess.
There was so much food. We had a whole ham. We had a honey baked ham, which was a brilliant move.
Salty honey baked ham.
A whole honey baked ham because you just grab and eat. That's a new thing that we learned on this trip.
Yeah.
But also the food trucks were there. They had a good Mexican food truck. Like, so there was good stuff.
So you could get stuff there.
It just made it.
Most people
at that
did.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we all were responsible for our own drinks, our own gels, and I mean, we all had extra if people wanted it.
Yeah. There was plenty of places to get water. They had big cisterns of water to load, so you could load up with water. Because it was hot, and I mean, you get sunburned during the day. You're exposure.
Yeah.
You're at 4,000 feet. There's no clouds. It's sunny. There's no shade, and during the day it's hot. It's breezy. Because the wind just cuts across the desert. So you might be standing there kind of, experiencing all kinds of climates actually in one place.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing that comes to mind immediately when I think of a experience like what you guys did is that when you have a large group of people, say a team of 6, and it's going to be overnight, 24 hours. Sometimes, personalities can clash, or how did that go? How did the team gel together towards the late hours of the race?
In the morning there was some crabbiness when no one wanted to do a third lap. I mean, I remember I was doing.
No one wanted to do the final lap.
I was like so annoyed, and I'm not going to lie, I was second to last, and I was trying to go so fast that the next person could have to go faster, so there would be another person. Because that's how I dealt with my little annoyedness. It's like I'm going to suffer more so I can make you suffer, but. There
was some like debating going on out front of the RV, like who's going to do the last lap, and I was like, well, I kind of want to, but I kind of don't. I'm kind of beat up, and it wasn't fair to ask Troy. He'd just done a lap earlier while you were out on the course, and then your daughter, it's like we're going to make her do another lap. She's newer to the sport too, and there were some other people that were just off the list. Like Steve was too injured, Liam was out. They were just like, we can't do another lap, so.
But I think your point's made. I mean, again, 6.
Yeah.
Again, we've said this. 6 was too many. We know it now. And there's 2 of my daughter and her boyfriend were in the truck, not in the motorhome. And
they were freezing and they're sleeping.
So they're like freezing and whining.
Everybody suffered in some way off the trail as well as on. I mean, it was
for sure.
Yeah.
But that's what made it.
Yeah.
I mean, like we all were like, I can't believe we're so glad it's over. Then we're all like, okay, when are we going back?
Yeah,
like you immediately flip that switch. I want to go back really bad, but I want a smaller group or go alone because I would love to do multiple laps.
Yeah, I will say too, just riding in the desert for all, like even though you're racing, and for me, my laps were in the dark, which is kind of harrowing, but it was extremely peaceful.
Yeah,
you know how it is when you get out of the zone when you're cycling, and for me, it's weird because when you're riding in the desert like that at night, the terrain is coming at you like a video game. Kind of like you're in a Mario Kart, and just the screen is kind of revealing itself to you as you're rolling through. But you get into a rhythm where you just get used to that terrain moving toward you. It doesn't feel like you're moving through it because you can't see ahead where you're going to be. It's just coming at you out of the darkness. And after it's kind of like a meditation. After about 30 minutes, you just get used to that. But it was pretty serene.
During the night, too, something really cool is you're sitting in the city or the motorhome, and you look out like 2 miles away, and you're like, it looks like a traffic of cars. And it's
like a
bikes.
snake of lights.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And it's bikes. Like I didn't know there were bikes, I thought it was cars going into the city. That's how many headlamps are out there, but far away they all look together.
And that's unique to
Yeah.
like say a desert race where there's no trees, there's no like you can see further away.
Oh yeah.
I mean, something like that around the Midwest. I mean, it'd be almost
It's
impossible.
impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't do that here. You could even see like during the day, you could if you really got up high, which you didn't have to go far up that little mountain that we were at the foot of to see. You could see the colored jerseys out snaking their way through
Cool.
the desert. Just it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's you said it. It was an experience.
Yeah.
And I think it was so special. Biking
Yeah.
was just what got us there, and it was a great experience.
It is one of those things at the end of it, you're like the biking turned out to be secondary to the entire just experience of traveling out there and pulling it off and committing to it and showing up and hanging out with everybody and supporting everybody's ride. That's the thing. Like I was more focused on making sure everybody else had a good experience and everybody else on our team was doing that too, versus like I want to go out and get my lap time or get my best effort. Yeah, I was interested in that, but you're really thinking about making sure the next person that goes out is supported and feeling good and having everything they need.
Yeah, you didn't
have
want
a good
someone to
ride.
finish not only with the bike changer, but you wanted someone else there to help walk them back or get
Yep.
just because it's a lot out there.
Yeah.
More and more, I'm less interested in going out and finding like or tackling one of the fastest. Like so for instance, like I would rather do something like this than maybe an Unbound.
Yeah.
And even though Unbound
Yeah.
would be a super cool
That'd be
race to
cool.
experience, more and more I'm more attracted to adventures and experiences than necessarily like how fast can I go in a race.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing you guys talk, and this has been on my bucket list for a while. I know it'd be so fun for my brothers and I to go out and do
yeah.
something like this. And it seems like that is something that motivates you guys. I mean, Jeremy, like you just signed everyone up for this thing without anyone knowing. Like,
Yeah.
but obviously you do other experiences too. I mean, Shaquamanon, you guys have done, but
Or to shore.
or to shore. But
Yep.
like what's the? I guess do you see those two different? Like, what you just experienced last month, to like say an or to shore.
I think you said it, and I want you to know I played college sports when I first started doing this biking. I was worried about my time I'd over, but then all of a sudden I started having more fun when I still ride and I kill myself and I hurt and I pain and I train. But like when we did this, it was like I wanted the moment to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes 24 Hours in Pueblo cool, is because you get to go multiple laps, so you get to really intake it. Where like when we do, you do it too, Iceman. I mean, we ride our butts off through it, and it's over, and all of a sudden.
Yeah.
This, you do a lap, you get a little break, then you went out and you take it in, and I think it can be the same, but I do think there's a point in our lives when we get older where it's more about the adventure and enjoying it. And what I don't want people to do is think that takes away from the training or how hard you ride. It doesn't.
Right.
It's just different. And that's why we made shirts this year. We said we are going to just have a blast of riding year. And we're going to 18 hours in Fruta in, I don't know, 4 weeks.
Couple of months. Yeah. 2 months. I think we'll be out in Arizona, Colorado doing the same thing.
Oh,
But the
very
Czech,
The Czech 40. And,
it's one of our favorite rides
it's a great
ever.
race. That's one in a lifetime.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that I love. We've done that 3 times now.
Yeah.
It's hard.
That's what I've heard.
It's the easiest one of those, I think, on that series.
It's crazy though, but even the pros will they're like it's the hardest 2 hours
Yeah.
that we ride.
It's mentally, it breaks you.
Yeah.
It's just those hills at the end break
But that's
you.
another what I've heard, and you guys would
It's another
be
party.
like it's another party. It's another
is.
it's another community
Totally.
that's just like this interesting little corner
Yeah.
that's really into biking up in the
You're
up
wearing
in
the
woods.
Iceman shirt tonight, Jeremy, and it reminds me that was my first big race that I did was the Iceman. And I think that's what we're looking for is the Iceman experience. That's how you describe 24 hours of the Old Pueblo. It's Iceman in the desert, and it's like that's what we're looking for.
How many of those can we find?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You had Tim Pullman, who
Oh, God,
we have
could
a
tell you Tim
personal
Pullman
story
stories.
of
Yes.
him, and I'll share it.
Let's tell it.
It's a double. We go up, I think, 3 or 4 years ago to Traverse City to go fat biking.
And the Vasa Trails in the
Yeah.
winter. Yep.
We don't know. So the first person we run into in the parking lot is Steve Brown.
Yep.
He's in the parking lot. It's a Friday morning. It's not a weekend.
Yeah.
And then they go
Mr.
right.
Iceman.
Mr. Iceman,
Yeah.
we're just chatting it up with him. He just got off
our
the
friend
trail.
was like, he thought it was like Hollywood.
Yeah.
And we had pictures, but anyways, I didn't even know it was him. I'm not. But we're on the trail and we get lost, sort of. And some random guy comes out and's like, "You guys new? Yeah. You want me to take you around?" Yeah. He rides with us for 3 hours. It was
He
Tim
guided us
Pullman.
for 3 hours in the
3 hours.
Secret back trails, all kinds of cool
he'd be the
neighborhood
guy-
things.
He'd be the guy.
Well, and then we find out who he is after.
But it
he's
was
the coolest dude,
one of the
just
best
hanging with us.
biking days I've
Yeah.
ever had in my
Yeah.
life.
Yep.
And he was on, but
Yep.
there's guys. Those are the people and the reasons we do this. And
Yeah.
you go to 24 Hours of Pueblo. There's 20 or 30 of those Tim Pullmans there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
People who they just love it. They've been to every one.
Yep.
They want you to have fun. They're not. No one's goofy. But then there's some serious riders, and I mean some really good riders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the...
Keegan was out there, and he did, I think, 23 or 24
Not
laps.
this year. Last year.
No, a few years ago,
Okay.
yeah. Which is insane.
Yeah. And I think Alexi goes out there. Like,
Alexi was out there this time.
Was
He
he?
didn't race that. His dad raced it.
Okay.
The story is, and I ran into some of his teammates, Alexi's dad broke his back. It sounds worse than it was,
jeez.
but he fractured his vertebrae.
He was there training
On
his
this
road bike.
section. Yeah, Alexi was riding his gravel bike around, but his dad was in the race on a corporate team. And there's a section on the 24 Hours on the Old Pueblo, which you cannot, it's an A line, and you can't go the B line until after the first lap. And the A line includes this
Is it
section.
kind of a drop?
No, it's not
okay.
a drop.
Oh,
that's an option. We'll come back to the rock drop.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have a
But
good
there's an
story for
area,
this.
it's about 2 or 3 miles out, maybe 4 miles out.
Yeah.
It's called the Bitches. And it's like 4 up and down. It's like 2-track off camber, up and down gravel, slidey gravel, off camber hills that go up and down. And I don't know how to describe them except to say, like,
Well, there's lines that are almost like cement.
yeah.
And
then
those are
there's
the
loose
fine.
gravel next to that.
But if you get off it, you're in gravel,
Oh.
sand, and you
and
will.
it's pulling you off to the side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is an area where it's opened up, so you can fly, but you got to be really careful how you do that.
They
'cause the
warned
dust
everybody.
is coming. You can't see,
man.
especially at night with headlights. The dust that was coming up into my field of view was like snow.
Sure.
You couldn't see the line in front of you. You couldn't see when the drop stopped and started going uphill again. So it was really. So he wrecked in that section. His
Okay.
dad.
Ugh.
But
Yeah,
but
he's
ba-
okay now, I guess. But
But back to the end of the race, at the very end, there's this rock face drop.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's huge.
it's a pretty famous.
It is.
There's a lot of video of guys.
oh yeah.
Sending it off that.
It's a big rock drop that you roll down, and then a kicker that you can do after that.
So
So we have a story to tell on this one.
there's 2 routes, and I'm not. There's no bragging
It's
here.
an A and B line at the very end. It's
Okay.
right at the end.
I did it early. I would not have ever done it late. 'Cause I
Is
was
it
like,
all? Is it all rollable though? I can't remember. Or is
Yes,
it? It's a
I'll let
real-
him because he rolled it. I didn't.
Okay.
So you can roll it.
On video, it looked like nothing. Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
when you get up above and you're tired,
Yep.
you can go straight down. But
Well,
there's
you don't
some,
roll into it. You have to turn onto it to
Yeah.
drop into it.
Okay.
So it's tricky, but you can do it. It's not, but it's the timing. All the people there yelling because they're waiting for you
Oh,
to
this
eat.
is where the
dog.
beer tent is. The beer tent is right
the beer
there.
tent is on it, like right there. Yeah. So we're gonna go to the last lap. They're all fighting. Who's gonna do it? I come in, and my friend Troy, who had done it, is back out there for his third. I had done a third. He's out, and we're waiting. We know it's getting close. We started getting rhythm, knowing, and I knew where the sign was. And I looked at Jim and his son Gabe and said, we were all texting Troy, do the jump, because we're drinking now. We're done. I'm done.
We wanted to do the rock drop. This is a
we're-
Colorado boy.
Yeah.
He's got like a 140 mil bike,
Sure.
full suspension.
Yeah.
Like
He
he
should be
can do
ready.
it.
He should be ready for it.
So we're texting, and I look at Jim. This is so funny. This is the nuts stuff. I'm not joking. I look at him and said, you and Gabe go up there and push him. When he comes to the sign, there's a sign. Like
Yeah.
you can't see it, but we know
Yep.
where it is. I said, make him do it. Make him do it. So take over the story.
I took my 12-year-old out there just to have him ride with us in the desert for a few days and experience the race and all that. So he was super excited. So we ran up to the spot where it's the sign, left, double black diamond, right, green circle. And we're standing there waiting. We all have these red matching shirts we made for the year. And so he'll be able to see us coming down. It's a long downhill. Then he has to decide to go right or left. And we're going to stand there and like point him like, Troy, you got to do the drop. Everybody's waiting. We want to watch you do it. They got cameras ready. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of dudes sitting behind me on the rock drinking beers who are yelling at everybody who takes the beeline. Your mom is disappointed in you. Your dad doesn't respect you, and all kinds of like shaming. Anybody who takes the beeline, they just bomb some stuff at
Love
them.
it.
So I'm like, oh, you know what? I got to enlist these guys. So I'm like, hey, my buddy's going to be coming down. He's wearing a shirt just like me. We got to make sure he takes the A-line. Granted, he's had 3 hours of sleep in an RV. He's on his third lap. He's exhausted, but we're going to make him do the A-line anyway. So they get up, they come down, they block the B-line entirely. They make a human wall. My son and I are there in red shirts. We see Troy coming. I'm like, you got to do it. And he's already leaning right to go to the easy. And he sees it's blocked. He sees me yelling. He very quickly does a shake of the head like, oh my God, I have to do this. He turns left. He goes and does the A-line, does the rock drop. We have it all on video. And at the end, he was like, why the hell did you make me do this? But we were all laughing. I think he was a little pissed, actually. But in the end, he
it was a successful. He successfully.
He did.
So, look,
and we gave him the MVP.
He should be happy that,
he
that
was.
You guys forced him into it.
We always name an MVP after a race weekend.
Yes.
We always have groups of 8 or 14.
Yeah.
We do it after Iceman.
Whoever has the best weekend gets the MVP.
He ended up with the MVP because of that, but he was not happy with us. I was in tears laughing. It was so funny.
I mean, to
And of
make
course we're
somebody
all
do this
drinking
is pretty
beer.
rough.
What are friends for? You
Yeah,
sign them up.
Exactly.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, it's good to hear that was, didn't end worse.
That
than...
would have been not good.
His wife we would be done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You said there was someone did crash or someone. hurt
Alexi's
themselves?
dad crashed.
Well, no, on your team, didn't someone hurt themselves a
yeah,
little bit?
Steve. Yeah, he hurt his ribs. I'm not sure where he did that though.
He did it on the before the race, riding
Yeah.
around. We were
Yeah.
doing we were doing all kinds of rides.
Yeah,
But
Oh,
he did his 2 laps.
he did his 2 laps.
Yeah, because I could
sucked it up.
see, already it's probably hard to convince your significant others to get time away,
Yep.
and then if you come back
Injured.
broken,
I know. Yeah, that's right.
it doesn't. I'm sure that doesn't go over.
That
the
wouldn't.
best.
No, that wouldn't have. Yeah.
Kind of going back to just picking adventures out with your buddies. I mean, I think that is what I think is the coolest thing about not only your experience, but something like 24 Hour.
Yeah.
I forget who said this or who I was just listening to, but they were talking about training, and he said, I'm now, like, this part of my life, training is still very important to me, but it's not about going out and winning races. I want to train so when I have these fun experiences, like, I have the fitness to have more fun.
To be able to do it.
And if you're not fit for it, then it's not fun.
No.
And so
That's
24
true.
hours
That's true.
is in February.
Yeah.
It's not really, I mean, especially around here, not really the season.
Nope.
Yeah.
Like, you signed up in October.
Yeah.
So was it like, goodness gracious, I need to get my butt in gear
We stayed
here?
on the trainers, I think, because of it.
I think it's the best. It's the best January, February that I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Because I knew that was coming, and I'm like you. You said it best. I train so I can have fun. I train so I could get one more lap in, and that's what it's about. But yeah, this is the best shape I've ever been at this time of year.
It's an early start to the season because in Michigan, the first race we do is the Barry-Roubaix, right? April. It's the first one. We kind of make sure we're in shape. But this one, we were like, we got to be ready for the desert.
Lots
we got to
of
be
fat
ready in
bike
February.
rides.
Lots of fat bike rides, lots of trainer rides.
Yeah, that's cool. It's always cool to have, like, I mean, that's what's great about Barry. It's so early, and it's a real interesting, like, well, who's been riding this winter? Who hasn't been riding this winter? But when you have something in February, I think that's a whole different, it's just. So.
And you said it good too, Trevor, because in Michigan we don't get that. It was so nice to have that on the calendar.
Yeah,
yeah.
to look forward to.
And now that I've been out west, it's amazing riding. Like, you could make a week trip out of it, and that just be one part of it. And that's what I'd really tell people if they do go to Tucson. Don't just do that.
Take a few days.
Take a few days because there's amazing riding in Tucson.
And the sunlight is nice in February.
We had a pool at our VRBO. We swam every day.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That'd be incredible. So, I mean, I guess you almost just answered it for me, but, like, not only would you recommend that people experience 24 hours, but, like, would you, I mean, I don't know, what it sounds like is the benefit of experiencing anything new is so beneficial.
Well, it's like Jeremy was saying, putting these things on the calendar. Like right now, we literally have a calendar. I think we have 6 races we're doing as a group this year. 6 big races. Places we're traveling to and doing, Arizona, Colorado, Wisconsin, Northern Michigan, Lower Michigan. We've been looking forward to that and talking and jawing about it nonstop. It's been a great source of like fun and just thinking about the adventures that are going to come. Having that stuff on the calendar, you know how it is when you get a race on the calendar, you train for it, but we're mentally, socially already making jokes and talking about how much fun who's going to be the MVP at the next one, who's making breakfast, who's bringing the meals, like what kind of shenanigans are going to happen. Yeah. It's good for us.
And we are lucky because our wives come. He mentioned my daughter. My daughter she was a nerd in high school, never did sports. I love you, Abby. But she got into mountain biking. She's done Iceman twice, and she just did 20 hours in Pueblo. Yeah. Second year riding.
Yeah. That's so cool.
But it's about family, and you make these things. And for us, like Order Short, it'll be a week in Marquette. We'll do the race on the front end, and then we'll spend it. Iceman, Elk Rapids every year. We rent a house in Elk Rapids for 12 to 15 of us.
Yeah.
But it's that experience.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, I think that's what's so attractive about races like Iceman, where it's like you see the community. It's like communal. Yeah. But then it's like it becomes much more personal with your own friends, with your own family, with your groups that come up and experience that. And Jeremy, like finding that in other places. I mean, I think that's like I didn't really think about that. Iceman's like my absolute favorite.
Yeah,
dude,
right here.
But
I'm getting chills talking about it.
But to think about, okay, now the goal is to find that, find the Iceman of Colorado, find the Iceman of Arizona, find the Iceman of the Northeast. I think that is a really cool idea and goal. That I think I might have to try here. But
we need to get a list going of that. I like that.
Yeah, and here's my plug as a mental health therapist. Like, there's a loneliness epidemic, right, in the United States. And as cyclists, we all know we can go out and have a good time for 3 hours on our bike by ourselves, or 5 hours. But there's something about pushing yourself to do something socially. You and I have met up for social rides. Jeremy and I do social rides. We all do our own individual riding too, I know. But the social thing is so good for us. It's such a source of like what we are fundamentally is relational. And the more we can spend time cycling together, I think, if people are out there listening to this, you probably do cycle with a group of people, but sometimes it's easier to not jump into a community ride and just go do your own thing. It's simpler, just roll out of your driveway and go get in 30 or 40 miles and come back. But I think making the effort to do this kind of stuff, because to be honest, it costs time and it costs money that we won't get back. But I'm glad we spent it doing this. And I'm glad this is where I want to spend my time and money, not on the next carbon fiber wheel set.
Yeah, that too. But no, that was really well said, and I think important. And it's easy to be almost lazy and say, I'm just going to jump on the trainer by myself. Yep. And I can make the effort to drive an hour and meet up with a group of people, or I just but it's all investment. Yep. But it is time that you don't get back.
That's right.
And go out and ride bikes with friends.
Yeah, that's what we did as kids, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why we got on
it. It all loops back to that.
We started right back where we began.
Yeah. And that's that's the story I was hoping to hear from the two of you, and that's what we got. So this is awesome. Thank you for sharing your experience, and what I'm hoping is that people will listen to this and get inspired to do it themselves. Because we talk a lot about Michigan races, which is awesome, but go out and make the investment and experience something new with your friends. Yeah. There's nothing like it.
Just put their name on a list and it'll be all good.
There you go.
Just sign your friends up.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
The Dirty Chain Podcast is a Michigan Midpack Media production in partnership with KOM Cycling, the source for your bike accessories and necessities. Connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Dirty Chain Podcast. If you are enjoying the podcast, please leave us a rating and review on whatever platform you use to listen. Audio editing and original music by myself, Trevor Gibney. A huge thank you to Jim Owens and Jeremy Frew. And thank you, Jeremy, for the beer, by the way, for joining me on this episode. And thank you all for listening to the Dirty Chain Podcast. And as always, keep your chain clean, but get your chain dirty. We will see you in the mid-pack.